Welcome back to From My Living Room to Yours. This week, because I know you all miss him, I've invited Reverend Richard to talk to you a bit. As you might remember, he still works a quarter time for us at St. Andrews. So he's going to talk a bit about his focus on the Faith in Action Committee and his young adults group, and how they have been active during this time of pandemic. I've also asked him to share one of his best pieces of advice for trying to thrive when we all feel like we're barely surviving. So let me get you over to Richard.
Hello, folks from St. Andrews. I know it's been a while for some of us, so it's so lovely. Thank you, Brenda, for inviting me to share this time with you and thus with the rest of the congregation. I don't get to see nearly as many of you nearly as often, and so I relish these opportunities to say hello. Faith in Action, as most of you likely know at this point, is a social justice ministry of St. Andrews that focuses on community organizing as our principle for making real gospel-oriented change in the world. And so that means we play with policy at the local level a little bit. And when I say play with policy, that means we do things like interviewing experts on affordable housing or homelessness, houselessness, and as well as social workers and other folks who are deeply involved in the sort of work that St. Andrews is already doing on a charitable level with the food pantry and when it's open, the Saturday breakfast program and the like. And so what Faith in Action has done is said, okay, so we're doing these wonderful ministries. What is the root cause that brings these folks to these ministries? In the past year, we had a pretty banner year, actually, doing research interviews with those folks. Many of you might have seen the forums and town halls that we did with some of our elected representatives and those who were either challenging from them for their seats or seeking incumbency. And also, folks helped out with Faith in Action at the reopening for the food pantry and some of our other ministries. So it's been very dynamic this past year. As we look ahead, we are going to continue doing those research interviews, but also a little bit more ministry building is what we like to call it in community organizing. And so that will mean I hope you hear a little bit more from us in the daily life of St. Andrews, but also as we seek to do ministry building outside of our own community. So that means working with other groups like Encinitas for Equality and other groups in Encinitas that specifically want to help everybody get more aware of some of the issues that those on the margins in our citizenry that face on a daily basis. One of the things we hope to do is launch a public education campaign around housing and homelessness for folks in Encinitas. And so this wouldn't just be a St. Andrews project, this would be kind of a citywide project where we all work together to bring a little bit more awareness as to what causes someone to be without a home, to live in their car, to be without a house for extended periods of time. Likely you can imagine several of those on your own, but there are also trends that we want to look at. We also want to look at the ways that people might bring about new affordable housing into Encinitas and that sort of thing. One project that we're particularly excited about that may take us years and years and years to accomplish is building a new affordable housing unit with wraparound services in Encinitas at the old burn site. Locally, it's just behind the, excuse me, I'm trying to think of the word, the sheriff's station in Encinitas. It's behind the Ford dealership. So along with that, we're also just trying to make sure that we are doing what we can to continue to dive into the issues that we face every day in the county as well. And so while we focus more explicitly on Encinitas, a lot of the work that we do with the San Diego Organizing Project also reflects that on our county level. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done there as well. So thank you for your prayers as we continue to dive into that work. And if you're at all interested, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to speak with you about it more directly, one-to-one, if you're at all interested and get a feel for where you might be called as a disciple and how we might work with you in that. For our young adult ministry, as you know, it's been such a hard time for all of us right now since we can't meet in person, but the young adults continue to go on. We particularly have been enjoying every 2 weeks we do a Bible study And for the last couple of months, we've been getting into a portion of the Bible that I really love studying and getting folks a little bit more familiar with. And that is the beginning of the monarchy in Israel. I won't go into deep and boring detail right here and now, but I will say that the reflections on leadership that we see from the prophet Samuel in the book of Samuel, and then what we'll get into later in the book of Kings in the Young Adult Bible Study, is a reflection on leadership. Who do we choose to trust? Do we trust God or do we trust man? It's a little more complicated in our day and age, but it still offers such, I think, vital reflection on all of the things that we're experiencing right now as a country. And I won't go, you've all seen too much of that, but it helps, I think, to reflect on where we are currently with ancient texts. And yes, we're, several thousand years apart, not even in the same area, but it's still, there's something deeply human in the text. And what I see on a weekly basis from the young adults is that they can connect with kind of these biblical heroes and sometimes villains in a deep and human way, because while our challenges are unique in this time, it's not like humanity had been challenged by similar circumstances before. So people seem to get a lot out of that. And so I'm really happy with that. When it was possible to meet in person, we would also do picnics. That is simply off the table for a time. So we will continue on with our biblical studies together. Though I also hope that we can continue to grow that ministry in the ways that we can right now. And one of the ways we do that is through meetup.com. And actually I'll give Brad a shout out here. One of our favorites every 2 weeks is Brad. Brad is a Baptist, born and raised, but he really enjoys our Bible study and comes nearly every single session because of it. So I just want to lift up meetup.com as a way to perhaps expand ministries when and where possible in a time like this. It's just a good platform for folks who are seeking community. So that's the long and the short of all of that. There's always more, but I would love to talk with you about that one-to-one if you're interested at all. But a thing that's helped me thrive, even as I simply try to survive in this time, perhaps I mentioned this before to some of you, but there's a Box Canyon Trail near where I live at the top of Alga here in South Carlsbad. And it's like a little slice of Hawaii, even though suburbia is absolutely all around it. It's just this beautiful deep canyon where you can hear rushing water all year round. And especially after it rained a couple of weeks ago, you could really hear the rush of the waterfall. And I often put in my ear pods when I go on that walk, but whenever I get to that spot, I stop and I take out my earbud and I hear that rush of water, and it just makes me, I don't know, it restores my soul and just reminds me of the many blessings in this life just to hear that rushing water. So it's simple, but that works.
Thank you, Richard. I am so grateful to spend a few minutes with you today. And I'm sure everyone who watches this will appreciate those tips and those invitations to ministry. And so to the rest of you, in the meantime, be humble, be grateful, be kind.